Hey everyone, and welcome back to You Bridging the Gap. Make sure to leave a like on this video down below and subscribe. My name is Alvin. I lead right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
My name is Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Hey guys, so in this video, we are going to be giving you our bipartisan predictions for the U.S. Senate elections coming up this November.
Yep, so we've marked in the states that we think either side will win by more than 10 percentage points, and the rest will break down in detail from the least competitive to the most competitive.
Hmm.
We'll start off with states that are pretty close to being certain for either party. So for the Republicans, we can go with Texas and Florida, which over the course of the past 2 years, I would say ever since 2022 midterm elections when Florida zoomed to the right, and just knowing that this year is going to be better for Republicans than some years past in Texas, we can pretty safely say that both are going to be likely Republican. I talk about New
Yeah,
Mexico.
I mean, let's talk about Florida and Texas first here, right?
Okay.
So in Florida, we have the incumbent Rick Scott running against, I believe, uh, like Mukersel, like Powell or something, like some Dem representative from South Florida. I know her like for short they call her DMP down in South Florida. She's a former representative. The polling in this race has been, I mean, it's definitely been favoring Rick Scott. And I definitely do think Rick Scott is favored with the Republican, like the Republican trend of the state. I will say, like the latest poll, I mean, it did show it closening a little bit. Like, he was only leading by +4, in that particular poll. So I'm like, okay, maybe as the Democrats' name recognition increases, maybe this race can get closer. Rick Scott's races in the past have been really close. But right now, I just think with the trend of the state and with Dems not really focusing that much attention in Florida, as much attention in Florida anymore, I do think likely is a fair characterization. And then Texas, I mean, the current senator is kind of infamous, Ted Cruz. He's not like incredibly popular in the state, and the Democrats are running another representative, Colin Allard, against him. Um, but yeah, like that state is kind of the opposite in terms of trend of Florida, in terms of like it's trending more to the left. But yeah, like I would say the polling is pretty consistent with Ted Cruz being up a good amount. So yeah, like we're pretty keeping the likely column for both these states. As we get closer to the election, though, maybe they could close it up. But yeah, I think these are both safe ratings right
That's
now
a tough
in
ask
ranks.
for Democrats, though, for sure. Yeah, so don't have much to say on them because I just want to save time. Republicans are already at 50 seats, so if they win the presidency, they already control the Senate, which is crazy. And I guess we'll talk about New Mexico really quickly. If you want to go
Hmm.
into that.
Yeah, so I mean, New Mexico, incumbent Democratic senator running for re-election, Martin Heinrich. He's pretty popular in the state. He won big in 2018. That's all well and good. Like our only concern, like I don't like we the only reason we're not putting this in safe is there's some polling that suggests it could be slightly closer. Like I think his polling, like one poll puts him at +7, a Republican internal puts him at +4, so that's probably a little biased. Um, and considering races in New Mexico, like especially at the top of the ticket, have been slightly closer. Like in recent years, like the last Senate election in 2020 was only D+6. The governor election 2022 was also D+6. Heinrich's an incumbent who'll likely be stronger than that. But just for now, with the limited information we have, likely blue is yeah the way we're going.
Yep, that's for sure.
Hmm.
Okay, we can go on to a few more states that are not so um, competitive, especially in the Rust Belt here with Democrats that have pretty good appeal actually that you might not expect.
Yeah.
We've already marked in Minnesota where Klobuchar is extremely strong. I suppose that her incumbency will be a little less good just because of the heavy partisanship that we see now since 2018, but I don't think it's going to flip the race. She's still very strong. Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania, though, here are looking really good for Democrats recently compared to on the presidential level where they have definitely slipped. And you might expect these races to be close, but it's really not the case. If you look at these old 2018 results of the same candidates, you'll see that they did very well. Of course, the Republicans here were generally pretty weak, minus John James. But if you look at these races, they're winning by big margins. It was a wave year for the
Hmm.
Democrats, but at the same time, it's not looking great for Republicans in these states. And I would actually probably put all of them into likely D,
Oh,
except
really?
yeah,
Oh,
except
all
maybe
except.
Wisconsin. Except Wisconsin.
Oh,
This is a
that's
this is a
interesting.
very this is a bold prediction right here. I don't know. It could be Michigan, but
Mm,
I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? You want
okay. I mean,
to go
okay.
one by one or
So, yeah, yeah. For me, Bob Casey in Pennsylvania is doing incredibly strong in all his polling.
yeah.
I think Fox polls just put him up double digits. He won double digits in 2018. I think he's doing great. I think it's likely. Um, the next closest I actually think is Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin polling has been a little all over the place, but generally every poll has Tammy Baldwin, the incumbent Democrat, up. She won by double digits to 2018. Really good. Um, that Fox poll that tested Harris, like it had Trump and Harris like even, I believe, and it had Tammy Baldwin up like 12. Or like a substantial amount. So just that like overperformance, I think Wisconsin actually like is moving toward likely. Like yeah, actually, honestly, I think Wisconsin is a likely state as of right now. Michigan, I want to be a little more patient with. Uh, like I would put Michigan in lean personally because Elisa Slotkin, the representative running for the Democrats, she isn't currently an incumbent for, like in the Senate seat. And she's running against another Republican, Mike Rogers. Her polling is really solid. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think she's been up or tied in every poll. Uh, that Fox poll I'm bringing up the Fox poll because it's like a really reputable pollster. Um, that like yeah, it put her up 5 when Trump was up 2 in the state. So like I mean that's a really solid poll for her. I just want to be a little more patient. I definitely think this race could go into likely for the Democrats. Right now, I think I'd put it in lean personally.
I don't know. I'll give my reasoning for why I think Wisconsin is actually going to be more competitive than Michigan. Um, I do see your point, with the polling in Wisconsin, but again, we don't really know how good polls are in Wisconsin every time. Obviously, Tammy Baldwin has the incumbency advantage. However, I don't know. I think it's going to be closer. I think that Wisconsin is going to be generally closer as a state when you have a presidential election. If this was a midterm election, I would probably agree with you and take these races more individually. But looking at the race with the presidential, election at the top of the ticket, that's going to be the main thing people are voting for. People don't really talk about Senate elections unless, it's a midterm year. People
Hmm.
talk about who they're voting for president, and I think Wisconsin's just going to be to the left of Michigan in almost every circumstance. And yeah, I think Michigan just has a higher chance of, Harris winning, and on top of that, I think she's going to be able to carry, Baldwin to a higher margin, and it's just not the same with Wisconsin, where I think it's going to be, at least closer in the race if Harris wins, and probably, Trump still has the state right now by a
I
bit.
I see your point, but I'm gonna just kind of go against you here. I don't think it's right in terms of the Senate race here. Like, I mean, you could even compare the Senate races in 2018. Baldwin ran like something like 5 points, I believe, to the left of how the incumbent senator in Michigan was doing. If you want to check the 2018 race. Like I like and also Baldwin's opponent isn't that great. Like it's Eric Hovde, like a Republican like millionaire. He doesn't really have any prior political experience. He kind of just came into the fray. He wasn't Republicans' top choice in the state. So I'm actually pretty confident that Wisconsin, the Senate race in Wisconsin, will be to the left of that of the Senate race in Michigan.
Very interesting. I would put both in likely, probably.
I mean,
Do you
that's
have a
fine.
strong opinion? Yeah, I was
That's
gonna put
fine.
it
I mean,
both in
I
likely
would put
or
Michigan and lean, but that's fine.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm
Originally,
fine
I
with
was
that.
gonna put likely on both and maybe only Wisconsin, but I would probably do this anyway, so it's fine. Now comes Arizona. Definitely Arizona's next. Not really any dispute about that. We had a very interesting situation in Arizona before, of course, with the whole Kirsten Cinema situation, her turning into an independent, speculation on what she would do, but now it seems like it's a pretty standard race. Carrie Lake did win the primary held last Tuesday, so now it's definitely going to be Gallego versus Lake. Now, this race
Yeah.
for a long time has seemed like a good bet for Gallego. Lake is already a one-time loser, although she did come very close 2 years ago and becoming the governor. But yeah, Gallego looked very strong for very long, despite his progressive lean. And really, people were thinking that this race would be very interesting if Cinema stayed in. Which side would she take more votes from? Of course, she's a former Democrat, former very progressive person, but she's been pretty much a thorn in the Democrats' back for a while now. So we wouldn't know what's happening. But now, with her dropping out a while ago, we know it's Lake versus Gallego, and Gallego's definitely favored. I wouldn't say it's likely, but I think lean is probably pretty standard characterization here. Um, yeah,
I would mostly agree. I think there's definitely an argument for likely here.
it could be,
Um,
but
Like because like I do like thinking about it, Gallego is just a representative, and Lake has run statewide before, and she did gather a lot of attention. So I'm like, okay, does that mean like could that mean Gallego has even more room to grow? And he's already leading in almost every poll, and even like kind of decently like right wing pollsters like Rasmussen are putting him up like three. So I definitely think there is a world where especially like if the presidential race is going to get closer than it is, that he could take likely. But yeah, like to be safe right now, yeah, I think we should characterize it as lean until we get closer to the election. But yeah, I think there's definitely no doubt that Gallego is favored over Lake.
yep. All right, now comes probably Nevada,
Yeah,
right? I
Nevada.
mean, yeah, before we were thinking Nevada could go the Republicans' way with just how bad Joe was doing at the top of the ticket. But I think we're going to change that this video. I think Rosen is going to do better now that Biden is off the ticket. Before we were thinking, Joe's doing so bad that even though Rosen was leading in all these polls, Brown had more room to grow. Rosen was hitting 50%, and you had all the speculation on just how bad Biden would do in the state of Nevada that would change the whole race. But yeah, at this point, obviously Harris at the top of the ticket now, and Dems are going to do better. There's newfound momentum for the Democrats, and I think that this state is going to go Democrats calm. Really, the only debate is on lean or tilt, and I'm going to go lean here. I think
Yeah,
it's
like I
just it's
mean,
just good enough for her
I definitely
TX,
think
but
that as well. Yeah, like it's just like
yeah.
even with Biden doing like so poorly, she was leading in like every poll. Um, and like yeah, that consistency, and also the fact that she did pretty good in 2018. She beat an incumbent by 5, which is really good in a swingy state. Yeah, like I definitely like I'm more confident that Rosen is gonna win. Yeah.
All right, it's gonna be Montana or Ohio here. I think we go Ohio first, personally. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, we can if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, Ohio. I've been flipping on Ohio a lot. It's been tough for me. Don't really know. I think this is our first video with yeah. I just don't know. I think that Brown is gonna be favored at this point.
Yeah, same.
Now I think it's gonna be. It might be our. I don't know. It might be our first video with brown hair. Not positive about that,
I
but
no, I believe
maybe we
I
had one
believe we
before.
tilted it for him in our last video.
Did we?
Feel free to watch our last video and our last set of prediction and fact check us. Um, but yeah, I believe we did put him barely up. Like that was a really like tough decision for me because like I definitely think thought back then it was more so could go either way. But now like I don't know, I feel like this polling trend with Brown being ahead consistently is starting to set in.
Yeah, we
Um
did hold it D. We did.
Yeah, so I do think like I mean at least as of right now, like I mean we just got this new poll that put Harris down 10 in the state, but put Brown up 4. That's a 14-point gap between Sherrod Brown and Kamala Harris, the incumbent Democratic senator. Yeah, I'm definitely like I mean I'm not like Ohio polling is not the best. It was not that good, especially like early on in 2022. It was utter trash. Um, and I'm sure we'll get like more accurate polls as we like get closer. But right now, like I think all the evidence suggests that Brown is slightly favored. Like I would
Yeah,
tilt
I
it.
mean,
Yeah, tilt
I'd
it for
still tilt it
personally.
just because of, yeah,
Yeah.
just because of Ohio dynamics.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna have Trump win the state by a very healthy margin, maybe even get into double digits, probably get in double digits, really. So, yeah, tilt D. It's gonna be close though, for sure. I think that these polls probably still overestimate Brown. We were talking about the room to grow thing earlier, and definitely
Yeah,
Brown
definitely.
still has room to grow with,
Absolutely.
yeah, but yeah. So we'll just keep going. Now, if Democrats won the presidency, as they're currently potentially slightly favored to do according to betting markets, um, maybe. Montana would control the Senate, and that's very important, obviously, especially with judicial appointments getting super polarized nowadays.
Yep.
This state would basically determine a lot of things if Democrats won um, presidency. And so we're going to look into it. In 2018, in a blue wave year, John Tester famously held on to his seat. Um, and this was big for Democrats. They really wanted to hold on to this seat. And now we're into 2024, and it's looking a lot worse for him because it's a nationalized year with the presidential race. Trump's going to win this state by a massive margin. I think
hmm
Republicans got a really decent candidate in Tim Sheehy, probably the best candidate out of all of their swing state candidates, and Tester is getting pushed to the brink. Obviously, there's no recent polling, which sucks in this race. But with the vibes, with the national environment, with how it's going to be national race, I think he's definitely still favored from her last prediction. And yeah, I would still put it in lean Republican. I think, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I do agree. Like all the recent polls, like are Republican internals or
It's
did their work
true.
for our packs. So like it's hard to kind of gauge how accurate they are. Like some put them like Sheehy and Tester even. Some put Sheehy up like 5 or 6. Um, I mean, so yeah, those send me different messages. So like since there are internal polls, usually like just based on that, I would move them like slightly to the left, just like um just because like they're definitely going to be biased toward Republicans or likely to be biased toward Republicans. But yeah, even with that, I do think as Sheehy builds his name recognition that uh, it'll get even redder as we get closer to election day in this seat. And yeah, like I'm kind of skeptical Tester holds on just because yeah, it's just such a solid red state. Yeah, so I think lean R is definitely the right characterization here.
Agreed. So this is our August prediction for the 2024 Senate predictions, and we have Republicans at 51 winning the Senate no matter who wins the
hmm
presidency. Democrats have a really tough task because they have to win Montana and the presidency and hold on to Ohio, while Republicans really just have to win Montana or the presidency, which the presidency is probably a coin flip right now, and Montana is going to be 60 to 70 to maybe even 80% favored for Republicans. So it's just difficult for Democrats to hold into the Senate. The map is horrible for them. It's been
Yeah, for
horrible.
sure.
I think Democrats have obviously they have decent maps in the other two cycles, like above average maps, but in exchange they suffer a very horrible map in this one cycle that comes every 6 years. So,
Yeah, they have so
it
many
is what
seats
it
to
is.
defend. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good for them, decent for them this cycle because, they have such strong incumbents, but as these incumbents retire, it's going to get harder and harder to defend these seats, and eventually some of them are going to flip. For
Mhm.
example, if Trump wins the presidency this time around, he's probably the Democrats are probably going to win the presidency in 2028 because of just Trump, it's etc. And that's going to present a very tough midterm year in 2030, where Republicans are probably going to sweep a lot of these states. If we have an unpopular Democrat president, which is going to set off the whole, winning in 2010, winning in 2030. It's going to mess up a lot of redistricting. So, yeah, it's
I
just
mean,
going to be
yeah.
how it is. Um, we'll look at the betting markets. Very much reflects our map here. Actually, like pretty much to the T, it reflects our map, which, it's pretty fair. People are putting their money where their mouth is. There's a prediction. Any last words before you end the video?
I mean, yeah, I think it just reflects that it's a bad map for Democrats. I would give Republicans like maybe like a 75% chance of winning this just because like yeah, like their main focus is just two red states, Montana and Ohio. And like getting either one of those gets them the Senate. So, yeah, I guess we'll see how everything plays out, but yeah, I think we have a good map here.
Very good map. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Comment down below how many seats you think each party will get. Link this video if you haven't already. Subscribe because we'll be doing more predictions in the future in September. And share this video with your friends and family. Thank you so much for watching.
See you guys.